Today we're going to talk about managing vulnerabilities to succeed. So what are vulnerabilities? Vulnerabilities are nothing but our own perceived shortcomings about ourselves. Perceived because we are highly self-critical people. We are extremely conscious of not being superstars in a lot of our everyday areas of life. When we go to work or when we go to a social setting, we are always trying to play cover up. That is very normal. All of us are doing it all the time. So when a weak spot shows up due to a transaction with another human being, our vulnerability is exposed. And this leaves us feeling embarrassed or in a position of doubt or discomfort. And it might spark emotions that we are not able to deal with. This could be a derailer. It's not the weak spot, but our own handling of it. Now, in the context of work, what do we mean by success? And I would like to offer a different definition of success here. Success is the sense of making progress, everyday progress. Success is when the needle moves forward. For solopreneurs or entrepreneurs or people who manage small businesses, when they get something done every day in order to increase their reach or acquire more customers, that is success for them. So now the question here is, what is the connection of vulnerability to success? Now it's ironic that when we plan a business or the act of buying, making and selling something, we think of capital, we think of funding, we think of technology, we think of who are our customers, we think of pricing, but we don't think of the human element in the business, which is ourselves, our vulnerabilities and how to manage them. And however, your vulnerabilities will crop up. It's guaranteed. It's only human. In large corporates, you have the human resource department or you have a sounding board to whom you can go and talk about it. But for small entrepreneurs or people who manage their own business, they are their own human resource department and they have to manage their own weaknesses or their discomforts themselves. There are some ways to manage our vulnerabilities because they will keep surfacing on a day-to-day basis as we work. The first thing is to access it, which means that when it surfaces, we have to acknowledge its presence without judging ourselves for it. So for example, I'll give you a simple example. You have, let's say you have a homegrown business where you are supplying gourmet pizzas and your business is very successfully running. And one of your loyal customers suddenly calls you from the blue and says, hey, I don't like your pricing anymore. You're overcharging and I will not order from you anymore. Now, there lies a response situation. Your one response could be that you ignore the feedback completely and that's your way of managing it. Your another response could be that you actually get upset or you could even get angry for getting a response like that, a feedback like that from your old client. Now the question here is, instead of reacting, it is important to give yourself some time and study your own response. You will be managing your vulnerability if you ask yourself, why did I react in that way? So give yourself a little bit of time. The second thing is acknowledge. It is very important for us to acknowledge that we are human beings and we can have an emotional response to a situation. Very often, being in denial means that you will keep repeating that behavior without making any changes to it. So that's the next thing. Acknowledge that you had an emotional response. The third thing is, once you've acknowledged it without judging yourself, do not attach your self-worth to that reaction from your customer. It is very important for us not to get into any negative spiral of judging ourselves Instead, if we have a positive intent and an intention to solve the problem, we will be able to manage the situation. So the third thing is actually accepting without judgment. You will see that if you observe yourself over a couple of interactions where you've had an emotional reaction to a response, to an emotional reaction, you will be able to see what is your own pattern of reacting to your vulnerability coming on the surface. And the last thing is action. You must take some action. There is internal action and there is external action. Internal action is working on yourself to resolve the situation in your own mind, to accept what is being said, to seek more information from the customer. You can go back to the customer and ask him, why did he say that? Why did he feel that way? And that will explain where he is coming from, instead of jumping to the conclusions too quickly or judging yourself. And the external action is to actually perhaps resolve the situation with the customer by calling him or offering a discount voucher or explaining your reasons for pricing. This is a very small example, but it also happens at workplace with our co-workers, because we very often jump to conclusions without giving ourselves the time for response. Please remember that everyone wants to succeed and everyone is vulnerable. So we are constantly dealing with these two things. The reward on working on yourself is very high. If you work on yourself, firstly, you will be having a very good relationship with your customer. Secondly, you will be able to turn around a lot of relationships that could have gone haywire, and they may actually be very rewarding for you in the long run. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope this made sense to those who are running their own ventures and they are on an everyday basis trying to deal with their own vulnerabilities and peddling for success. Thank you.